Greeting and salutations. I am Lloyd, a producer at LCD Productions, and I have come to share this new series of visual audiobooks with you, the listener, the supporter, the viewer. Together we will go on a journey like never before, fly to new heights with Project Aerospace, explore new land and cityscapes with photations, even change the dimension of time through the power of time-lapse photography from live to tape. We'll even travel beyond the mind's eye into worlds captured and generated through animation from Thumbs United daily animation series. As we together go on these journeys filled with photography and theater of the mind, I hope you remember the core belief that we hold, that anyone can become the master of art, meaning that it is not some born skill what makes someone good at being creative. It is a desire to practice and spend time being creative that creates the master. I hope that these films, photography, and stories inspire you to set some time aside and practice some creativity. I believe if we all spend more time creating and being constructive, the world would be a better place, a more friendlier and fulfilling place. Thank you for coming. Let's begin this journey. This is Live to Tape with a partnership with Project Aerospace, recording the visual audiobook of the Girl Aviators and the Phantom Airship. Chapter 21, The Phantom Airship. In the midst of the hum of excitement and the crossfire of question which immediately followed, there occurred a startling interruption. From the further side of the ground there arose a cry which swelled in volume as it advanced. "Fire! One of the hangars is on fire!" A group immediately broke up, and orders and commands flew thick and fast. In the midst of excitement, Roy and his chums found an opportunity to slip away. "There's a fire off by our hangar," shouted Hal Homer, pointing across the field. By the end of Prescott's green arrow, by the side of Prescott's green arrow shed, a big cloud of smoke was ascending, mingling with yellow flames. It seemed to be a hot blaze. "It's Fan Harding's hangar," cried Roy suddenly. "Come on, let's go over there and see what the matter is." "I've got the car right here," said Jimsy. "I'll get you over in a jiffy." Soon as they were speeding across the field toward the blaze. In the meantime, an emergency fire corps, composed of men employed on the grounds, had attached a line of hose to a hydrant and were drenching the flames. Such good work they did do that it was not long before they had the fire under control. As soon as it was out, our party, which had managed to get through the lines formed to keep back the curious, gazed into ruin with some interest. "Why, say," cried Jimsy suddenly, "the place was empty." "So it was," cried Roy in astonished tones, "except for that big box kite over in the corner, where, whatever kind of game of bluff has Fanning Harding been playing?" "I guess I can imagine it," struck in Hal Homer. "From what you have told me, his little game was to bluff you into thinking he had a fine airship that could beat yours, and in that way to induce you to sell out to him." "By George, I never thought of that," exclaimed Roy. "But hullo, here comes Peggy in the farmer's wagon." He ran through the crowd to the side of the wagon, which had been driven in by Farmer Ingalls. "You dear, dear boy, I heard all about it already," cried Peggy, throwing her white arms around Roy's neck, while Miss Prescott, whom they had picked up at the hotel, sat by, hardly knowing whether to laugh or to cry, as she expressed it later. I am not going to describe that reunion by the side of Fanning Harding burned hangar, but each reader can imagine for herself what a joyous one it was. "I know a place in town where they sell the bulliest of sodas and sundaes," cried Jimsy suddenly. "Everybody come up there in the car, and we'll celebrate." "In one moment, Jimsy and Roy, there is one thing still I do not understand about this whole business, and that is this. It is clear enough that the Fan Harding was bluffing about having an aeroplane in that shed, but how was it that he made a night ascent with the red and green lanterns?" "Oh, you mean the time you saw him in the air at night? The time we went to Washington?" asked Jimsy. "That's it. How do you account for it?" "Give it up," rejoined the other lad. "Perhaps this may help to explain it." Hal Homer came up carrying two much scorched lanterns he found in the debris of the hangar. One was red and the other was green. "I don't quite see. said Peggy, but Hal, with an apology, interrupted her. It is plain as day to me, he said. These two lanterns attached to that big box kite on the breezy night would certainly give anyone the impression that an aeroplane was sailing about. Harding knew you would be flying home in that vicinity on the night and rigged up this contrivance to delude you. A phantom airship, cried Peggy. That's about the size of it, put in the slangy Jimsy, and I think that friend Homer here has hit on the correct solution. But if that were so, why did Fanning fit up a chop shop out at Gibson's place? Asked Jez in a puzzled tone. I guess that shop had no more in it than this hangar, was Roy's reply. Gid Gibson is a bad character who would do anything for money, and I think it likely that he fell in with Harding's schemes because he had no great liking for any of us. Looks that way, agreed Jimsy. But that doesn't explain that ruby which Hester was wearing, thought Peggy to herself, and the laughing party of young folks drove off uptown, followed by Farmer Ingalls and his good wife, who had been invited to take part in the little celebration of their triumph. Here and there they were recognized and cheered, but among the crowd on the sidewalks all were discussing the thrilling race. There were three that took no part in the good-natured jubilation. Who these were, we can guess. Juke Dade, at Fanning's side, had to listen to some savage abuse as they slunk along, avoiding as far as possible the crowds. I told you to burn up the hangar so that there would be no trace of the bluff we had been putting up, he growled. Well, didn't I soak the place with gasoline, protested Dade. How was I to know that a kid would come along and give the alarm before it got fairly alight? It's been a dismal failure all the way through, lamented Harding, as if he had been engaged on some praiseworthy enterprise. Incidentally, purred Juke Dade, but with a menace under his silky tongue, I'd like to see some of that money you've been promising me all along. You have to wait till I see my father, snapped out Fanning savagely. We'll see him quick then, or I may have to take other means of getting it, snarled Dade. What do you mean? Why, by telling a few things I know about the loss of a certain lady's jewels, for instance. Fanning went white as ashes. You sneak, you've been listening at keyholes, he cried. Dade returned him look of defiantly. Well, what if I have, he snarled. I've got a hold on you now, Master Harding. I've got you where I want you, and I'm going to keep you there. Chapter 22. The next chapter is Chapter 22, Jim Bell of the West. Thank you for experiencing this journey we have created here at LCD Productions. For more information on how to support these films and projects, visit photations.com/support. Fine art photography prints from journeys around the world can be purchased from photationstore.com, and digital downloads of our photography and visual audiobooks is available for personal use. Commercial use is available at a different rate. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you here again.